You can get Vixen at your local Blooms the Chemist, who are open during the current emergency to revolutionise your skincare routine this year and give you some much-needed self-love and care. With its unique Skin Smart formula of 9 powerful active ingredients, including award-winning apple stem cells, Vixen delays skin aging, reduces wrinkles and even skin tone. Plus, with every purchase made, you'll support Bowel Cancer Australia and Tresillian. Vixen is 100% Australian made and owned, cruelty-free, and comes with a money-back guarantee. Find it available at Blooms the Chemist nationally, or stay home and Vixen will deliver free Australia-wide at vixen.com.au. That's VIXIN.com.au.
No one likes hearing a scratch, especially on our car, which is why you need an insurer that's close by and affordable. Switch to 2019's CanStar winner for most satisfied car insurance customers in WA. RAC Insurance. For the better. Check the PDS at rac.com.au.
On 882 6PR, this is Perth Tonight with Chris Isley.
And our number, if you'd like to join us, 922 118 882. We talk about consumer confidence, and I want to say it's wonderful. You look at all these graphs and they sort of point skywards and think, oh, okay, everything's getting better. How do you feel right now? Would you go out and spend some money if you had some money? Or you're sitting on it, saying, I'm definitely putting that aside for a rainy day? And there are many people, I'd argue now, there are lots of people who'd be feeling just a little bit lacking in confidence, perhaps. So what they talk about, this consumer confidence, what they're saying at the moment is, Barry says the benchmark figure is 100. And at the moment, we're sitting at about 98.3, which means slightly below confidence. But I still wonder, does that represent some feeling of confidence? Or is it a set of figures that perhaps to those people who are in the know it means something? Otherwise, are they a bunch of figures which perhaps arguably don't mean too much? They suggest something, but do they really mean that much? I don't know. 922 118 882 is our telephone number. How is it you feel about that? Also, on other news today, of course, US President Donald Trump came out. He's threatened to deploy the army in what's being described as an inflammatory statement earlier today in the White House Rose Garden. And then after the statement, he walked to St John's Church, which was mentioned last night across the road. And then peaceful protesters were cleared off the streets with tear gas before the walk. It's one of these moments where you scratch your head and you think, what is really happening?
These are not acts of peaceful protest. These are acts of domestic terror. The destruction of innocent life and the spilling of innocent blood is an offense to humanity and a crime against God. Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them. What happened in this city last night was a total disgrace. As we speak, I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers to stop the rioting, looting, vandalism, assaults, and the wanton destruction of property.
And a bit earlier this afternoon on Ollie Peterson's Perth Live, Amelia Adams, the 6PR9 News correspondent, spoke to Ollie and says that protesters she's spoken with are unconvinced by Trump's statement. Police at the moment definitely outnumber protesters.
The police presence here has been absolutely phenomenal, far outnumbering the crowds and the protesters, which is exactly what the president announced would happen. He rolled out the National Guard and the military police. Everyone was pushed well away from the White House, and you would have no doubt seen those amazing scenes play out.
How has Donald Trump's address to the nation been received on the ground there in the US?
I mean, he came out talking so tough, calling himself the president of law and order and an ally for all peaceful protesters. And I can tell you that when he said that, I turned to someone on the street next to me, a peaceful protester, and I said, the president's just called himself an ally of the peaceful protesters, and then he'd been for a walk and seen the damage on St John's Church opposite the White House, and this man said to me, he's not an ally of ours. This is too little, too late, because they've been calling for him to show his face and come to the streets for nearly 48 hours now, Ollie. So the protesters weren't buying this. Most of the people I spoke to believed it was a photo opportunity to stand in front of a church with his team holding a Bible and say, America's great and we will reclaim the streets.
At the risk of editorial comment, one would suggest that the possibility of Donald Trump out the front of a church with a Bible is merely an invitation for a dramatic lightning strike. But that's another story. Locally, we have a dodgy aircon salesman. Consumer Protection Commissioner Lainey Chopping joined Gareth Parker on Mornings this morning to talk about a notorious air conditioning salesman who's breached an agreement to stay out of the industry. Around Perth, there are several people who've been impacted by this fellow, and they've certainly had a bit to say.
I wonder if you have ever dealt with an air conditioner salesman by the name of Alwyn Robert Healy. He is at the moment trading under the business name React Air, but there have been other business names over the years. Lainey Chopping is the Commissioner for Consumer Protection. Lainey, who is this bloke?
He's notorious around here with us, so we have had issues with him for 15 years now. Alwyn Robert Healy of Tapping. We're issuing a formal warning today to the public to stay well away from him. Since 2005, we've had 180 complaints and we've had him in court several times. In the Supreme Court, we reached a settlement where he agreed not to be involved in the industry in any way for 5 years, but now we've found that he has actually broken that, we believe. In January this year, a Yanshep consumer gave him $6,500 and hasn't had their system installed. In March of this year, a Cloverdale consumer gave him $7,500 and it was only partially installed, and the consumer is very unhappy. And in April this year, $7,500 for a system in Cannington that's not working.
The only thing I can suggest, it might be time to redact React air conditioning. Speaking of consumer confidence, hello, Anne.
Oh, hi, Chris. It's all very well to have consumer confidence, but there's a problem in the stores. If you go into Kmart, there's absolute Kmart, Target, Myer, all of them. None of them have got any winter stock. The shelves in Kmart are barer than the toilet roll aisles in Woolies and Coles.
Oh, really?
Nothing has. Not the big. All of those Bangladesh and Chinese manufacturers, they closed down and locked down as well. None of the orders have arrived. They're going to be late if they do arrive. Every Kmart store looks unbelievably bare. They're the worst because they haven't tried to disguise it. But if you couldn't... I was attempting to buy... for an elderly neighbour, a pair of men's tracky dacks. There's none in Kmart, not a single pair in any store. Not one.
I suppose in some respects it makes sense. If the factories overseas closed, they closed before they would have been able to deliver the winter orders. So the bottom line is, I guess, we're just not going to get the winter stuff. I never really thought about that.
All these businesses, you really want to see it. Myers and DJs have done some, although they do a little bit. They've tried to disguise it, but they're only selling last year's stock. Nobody's got any stock. So even if you have confidence, you can't buy anything.
What about you as a consumer generally, Anne? Do you have confidence?
Well, I'm not a huge consumer anyway, but I was just staggered to see electrical clothing. Yeah, if I wanted to buy something, I'm reasonably confident to go and buy it. I think we'll go over this, except for the fact that the world's in a muddle because... until this stock supply thing sorts itself out, because you wouldn't even be able to buy it online. Yeah,
that's a very good point, Anne. Thank you very much for that. Look, as a person who doesn't do the shopping in our household, I never really considered that, but what you've said absolutely makes sense, and it's a moment to stop and pause. Glenn.
Oh, good evening, Christopher. Talking about consumer confidence.
What about you as a consumer? Are you confident?
I'm not a what do you call a general consumer?
Yeah, me either, I have to confess. Yeah, true enough.
But I'll give you some example. People are looking at maybe setting up manufacturing operations in Australia because of the supply chain issues that are coming from overseas.
Uh-huh.
And we've been in discussions with a particular client, and they wanted a base around Malaga for a particular distribution mechanism. And the prices of industrial land is absolutely ridiculous. We looked at one block, well, they've been looking at one block there. It's just over 1,000 square metres, just under a quarter of an acre, $650,000 plus GST. That equates to over $2.6 million an acre in Western Australia for industrial land.
Unbelievable. You got a very good point there, Glenn. Also tells us we might be in the wrong business, mate. It's a lot of money. Hello, Pat.
Hi, Chris. The place to go for tracky dacks is Rivers.
Oh, okay.
They've got heaps of them.
I've actually got tracky dacks.
And tracky dacks, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
No.
Thank you very much for that. I'm sure.
The email I sent you last night, I was really down.
Yeah, I know. I realised that, Pat. And I thought, Pat will give us a call if she feels like. I just sort of realised that.
But I've seen my grandies today and I'm all happy.
That's what we want. That's what we want. Thank you very much for that, Pat. Good to know you're feeling a bit better today too. So Rivers apparently got tracky dacks. I must confess, I never thought about that, but the moment you stop and think about it, it makes sense. All these people went out of business because they shut down. Then they weren't able to fill the orders for winter stock. I wonder how the fashionistas feel about having to wear the same garments 2 seasons running. I don't know. Wouldn't even notice myself. 922 118 882. Ben Aylett's going to join us next. Rachel's waiting to ask Ben a question. You can get in the queue too if you'd like. 922 118 882. If your technology is giving you grief, he's a man to have a chat to. From benaylett.com, 1L, 2 T's in Aylett. That's also where you'll find all of his contact information. I also heard NBN saying today how they'd coped wonderfully while people have been at home during the coronavirus. I still think that the system is running slower than a wet week. When something is running slow, it's like having a car and saying our car's performing really well. Yes, but you're only driving it at 20 kilometres an hour. My Robin Reliant will run at 20 kilometres an hour.
It's Gareth Parker here, and our greatest asset on mornings is you, our listeners, who call in and contribute to the show every day with news tips, contributions to our debates, points that make us think. Thanks to our friends at WA Asset, the bathroom renovators, this year we want to find our greatest asset and reward you with an amazing experience. Simply be part of the show weekdays from 9 to go into our end-of-year draw to win a $10,000 dream holiday to your dream destination. You could be morning's greatest asset. Thanks to WA Asset, the bathroom renovators, bathrooms for living.
Did you know that over 50,000 Aussies got quotes on quality life insurance from the 50 Up Club? Since the 50 Up Club established itself as the savings club for over 50s, they've had over 50,000 members get quotes on their life insurance offers. Right now at 50upclub.com, you can get a 20% lifetime discount on life insurance cover with Noble Oak's My Protection Plan. You'll also receive your first 2 months cover for free for a limited time only. That's right, a 20% lifetime discount plus your first 2 months cover for free. There's never been a bigger 50 Up Club life insurance offer. Go to 50upclub.com today. Any advice provided is general in nature and does not consider your personal circumstances. You should read the product disclosure statement to see if the product is right for you. Details on the website.
I'm Dr. Nick Coatsworth, your Deputy Chief Medical Officer. As we start to get back out there, it's my job to remind all Australians to be COVID safe. 1. Wash your hands as often as possible. 2. Keep your distance where you can. 3. Join millions of Aussies helping our health workers by having the COVID Safe app. And if you're feeling sick with cold or flu-like symptoms, stay at home and speak to your doctor about getting tested. Together, we can reduce the risk of a second wave. Let's all stay COVID-free and do the 3.
Authorised by the Chief Medical Officer, Canberra.
In my 20s, I cared more about adding to my CD collection than investing in my future. Now the only thing I'm adding to my collection is dust. Lucky for me, it's never too late to talk to Knight Financial Advisors.
You can't change your past, but you can change how you plan for your future today. Knight Financial Advisors can help you grow and protect your wealth while still enjoying the lifestyle you know and love. We'll even start you off with a free consultation. Search Knight Financial Advisors today.
AFSL 438631.
We understand that it may be difficult for you to seek assistance for your hearing and audiology needs in light of the COVID restrictions. But thankfully, the Art of Hearing will look after you. The Art of Hearing is open and will provide safe and quality care to new and existing clients. If you're unable to get to a hearing clinic, our experienced audiologists are happy to discuss your questions and concerns over the telephone. All clinics in Perth are also open for face-to-face appointments. Visit artofhearing.com.au.
Interested in refinancing your home loan? Get expert assistance from the highly rated home loan specialists at Domain Loan Finder. Visit domain.com.au/loan finder to apply today. Credit representative number 500208. Application subject to assessment and lender approval.
This is where Perth talks at night with Chris Isley on Perth Tonight.
We've got to welcome Ben Aylett, 1L, 2 T's in Aylett. BenAylett.com is the website, identified by his Hawaiian shirt. I've got to say, mate, you sort of look out of place right now. Hawaiian shirt, it's absolutely freezing. What's up with you?
If anything, I'm true to my brand.
You certainly are. Mind you, where is the line between loyalty and stupidity?
Well, I've covered up my line of stupidity by wearing a T-shirt underneath.
Oh, there we are.
Go.
So I knew you'd have a sensible answer.
That's right.
Ben's here to talk technology and, of course, take your calls.
Yes, practical.
922 118 882. Rachel's been waiting to have a chat, so let's get Rachel's problem sorted. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Rachel, how you going? What's up?
Oh, hi, Ben. About a year ago, hubby and I saw an opportunity, what we thought was an opportunity to invest in some money in a company to try and get hold of the old Bitcoin.
All right.
And today, because we just ignored it after several months of not hearing from them, we've been told we've earned 2.5 Bitcoin. And they want us to create an account in a company called Bitfin online, create an e-wallet so they can transfer 2.5 Bitcoin, which is the equivalent of current rate, 36,000 Australian dollars.
Sounds about right, yeah.
And they want me to open TeamViewer on my PC so they can access the screen, so they can see that I've put in the right code in my wallet that matches their code in their wallet.
Why do I get a feeling this is a scam?
So that's why I messaged you straight away, Ben.
Oh, look, thanks very much for that. Look, I'm really glad you called in and also you contacted me prior to this, before you did anything, because this smells really, really suspicious. If they're asking for access to your computer just so they can check to make sure you're putting in the right numbers,
then they either want access to your computer and access to the numbers, or one or the other. Either way, I'd say scam.
Yeah, without going into it too much, I mean, we can ask like heaps and heaps of questions, but this does sound like a typical scam to me where they might...
Why would anyone want to access what is essentially private data?
Well, it's... Okay, so what they're doing, this kind of smells like the refund scam. So they might say, okay, I'm going to log into your computer and I'm going to enter in this number, and then you think they'll read out the number, you punch it in, and while you're punching it in, you might be looking down at the keyboard, they might change a few numbers. And
in other words, the bottom line is don't do it.
Yeah, well, don't do it, yeah. But they're also, I think what they're hoping and doing is making it look like you transferred the wrong amount to the wrong account, or you made some sort of mistake. And then they say, right, you've made a mistake. You've got to fix it by sending us this money. Go down and buy some gift cards and we can fix it up that way. That sort of.
Either way, it's a scam.
It does sound really, really scammy. And I would be...
Don't do it.
Yeah, look, if you want to set up a Bitcoin wallet, okay, I usually go for blockchain.info, and they also allow you to set up what we call a paper wallet or cold storage. And this is a secure way to keep your Bitcoin tucked away safely, and you can receive deposits from anywhere. So if they need to deposit any money, you give them the address and they deposit it into that account. No one needs to put their hands on your computer to transfer Bitcoin.
And the moment anyone asks to do that, it's got to be dodgy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did think it was weird because we use TeamViewer at work, which gives...
Bottom line, Rachel, don't let them do it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Very good call too. Very good sound piece of
Absolutely,
warning
yeah.
too.
Look, thanks very much for calling in again, Rachel.
G'day, Chris.
G'day, Chris. G'day, Ben. How you going?
Go for it, mate.
Hey, look,
Yep.
G'day, Ben. Look, bit of a geopolitical sort of intrigue which is happening at the world at the moment. It's nothing to do with my individual computer, but this is one for Ben.
Right.
Look, I'm just interested in what your thoughts are. Just imagine, because I know for a fact that there are certain
What's the
players-
question, Chris?
Yeah, I'm about to get there.
All right, come on.
Yeah, look, what I'm saying is that there are certain players in our region that have identified sea cables leading to Australia with all the glass coming through.
Yep.
There are several
Glass fibre,
of them. Now, if a submarines, and they've got designated submarines that can go and cut those, I'm just wondering what the scenario would be for Australia. If all those cables were just suddenly cut, where would we be at a financial, everything, internet, where would we stand?
All right. This is the beauty of the internet in that it's quite resilient, and that's the way it's been designed from the ground up. So when they first made the internet, they wanted to make sure it was a decentralized communication system. So sure, if we lose undersea cables, we then go to satellite. And that's going to be really, really hard to take out as well. You'd have to have one hell of a coordinated effort to take out undersea cables and satellites at the same time. Granted, if that was to happen, our internet would stretch about as far as our very own shores. You can still get a fair bit done, but when it comes to international trade, yeah, it can sort of fall into a hole. Now, even if we have web servers hosted or systems hosted with Amazon, we've got an Amazon data centre in Sydney. We've got data centres all over Australia, and we are still pretty much self-sufficient. So it just means international business might fall in a hole for a bit until things are fixed. And really, it shouldn't take too long to fix that sort of thing, because the people operating at that level really do have contingency plans in place.
Yeah, well, there'd have to be something in place, wouldn't there? Otherwise,
Yeah,
could end up really bad.
Yeah, that's a hell of a thought experiment, though.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I wonder how many people. Let's put it this way: you'd have to be pretty crazy to do that, because you affect multiple countries when you do.
Yeah,
including your own.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, well...
Could be a bit self-destructive sometimes. Ben Aylett's here to talk technology, 922 118 882 if you have any questions for Ben, if you've got any technical issues. Also like to know, how have you found your NBN if you're on it? According to the NBN, it's all been tickety-boo. It's run beautifully during COVID-19 when everyone's been in isolation and lockdown and arguably using their computers more from home. The system has held up well, apparently. I still maintain it's one of these systems that if you've got it going, like it's chugging along like an old thirsty Vespa, then, yeah, it's going to run all right. The reason being I'm still bitching and moaning about the fact that mine runs at about a third the speed the HFC did.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how many people are being told, well, yeah, it's running fine. Yes, it is running fine if you're happy with 30 kilometres an hour. But when you had 130, you're not happy. You know, it's a bit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, first world problems and all that, but it's still a pain in the neck, isn't it?
Yep.
So I wonder, did your whole NBN run beautifully, especially if you had people in your house who were not working and decided to binge watch God knows what on Netflix, Stan, Disney, Amazon Prime? Have I missed any? I know I have. Anyway, any one of a number of streaming services. How's it run then? And I'll tell you something else. If you happen to have a person who's a gamer in your family,
yep,
you soon find out the deficiencies of the system.
or their own deficiencies.
No, the deficiencies of the system. I've come to learn the meaning of a word that I've heard often recently. Lag.
Yes.
Oh, mate, I'm an expert on lag.
The bane of every online gamer playing against other people. Lag is one of those things which is just a real pain in the butt.
Yeah, questions like, big fella, how come this runs like a dog? And do you know what annoys me? I don't have an honest answer.
Well...
Except to say three letters, NBN.
The morning program.
An air conditioner salesman by the name of Alwyn Robert Healy. Who is this bloke?
He's notorious around here with us.
With Gareth Parker.
If you saw Mr. Healy, what would you tell him?
I don't know if I could bear to speak to him, actually. The one thing I would say about Mr. Healy in a nutshell is that you know when he's lying because his mouth is moving.
Mornings with Gareth Parker. Tomorrow from 9 on 882 6PR. Or catch up now at 6pr.com.au.
The Breast Cancer Research Centre WA is increasing survival rates of men and women with breast cancer, and their work is having a global impact. But now they need your support. In August, Breast Cancer Research Centre WA will open a new world-class centre right here in Perth, offering research, treatment and support services under one roof. A first for WA and only possible with your help. To donate, visit Breast Cancer Research Centre WA, reshaping the future of breast cancer treatment and support services.
Filter Discounters is now stocking alcohol-based hand sanitizer in 5-litre bottles. Just $77 with free delivery for online orders. Plus further discounts for clubs, schools and bulk orders. Order your hand sanitizer right now. Go to filterdiscounters.com.au.
Get all your pre-race analysis with Tab Touch. Access premium form, giddy up ratings, race replays and expert tips. Plus watch every race live with free Sky Racing. So better your form with Tab Touch.
Conditions apply. Gamble responsibly. Call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858.
Want to retire in the comfort of a community that cares? At Stockland Retirement Villages, to keep you safe, we've changed our viewing process. To book a private appointment, call us on 1-800-727170 or search Stockland Retirement. Stockland, retire like you mean it.
Hi, Carl Langdon here. If you're in the market for safety boots, here's some facts. The Steel Blue Argyle is the biggest selling boot in WA. Some outlets are selling them for $190, others for $175. But at Work Clobber, you'll pay just $164. No special gimmicks, no terms and conditions, just their everyday trade price of $164 for the original Steel Blue Argyle boots. So get into Work Clobber's 9 trade stores. They're everywhere.
When's the last time you sat down and reviewed your health insurance plan? Well, if you're over 50, today's your lucky day. The team at the 50 Up Club has negotiated a fantastic health insurance offer from the country's biggest not-for-profit health fund, HCF. If you go to 50upclub.com today, not only do you get access to HCF's great range of plans, you get up to a $400 e-gift card as a reward for switching. That's a $400 e-gift card for families, couples and single-parent families who switch to a new combined policy with HCF at 50upclub.com and stay for 3 months. There's also a $120 e-gift card for singles. Terms and conditions apply. Waiting periods may apply. Only at 50upclub.com.
Until midnight on 6PR, this is Perth Tonight with Chris Isley.
Ben Ayllett's here talking technology. By the way, Ben's website, benaylett.com. It is 1 L, 2 T's and Aylett. And that is also where you'll find Ben's contact information.
Yes.
I see that Qatar has a contact tracing app that apparently has put over 1 million people's information at risk. What's happened?
Well, it turns out when it comes to doing contact tracing apps, Qatar has done it wrong. It looks like they've used QR codes for for linking or that sort of thing. They've been using GPS tracking and Bluetooth tracking. So Bluetooth not so bad because it doesn't actually say exactly where you are. It says who you're close to.
Right.
It does that.
So it's in the reverse.
Yeah, but the GPS, that's it's kind of revealing where people are, and they're collecting more information than they needed, which means that the target is a bit richer. And it's, security's broken. So now...
Should point out we're talking about Qatar in this instance, not Australia. We want to point that out.
Absolutely. We want to make that absolutely clear.
But nonetheless, it's interesting that there is this flaw in here. I think it was picked up by Amnesty International, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So the flaw, which is now fixed, it's shared info, made info like names, national IDs. Okay, so the names... Yeah, okay, that's fine. National IDs, no, you shouldn't be collecting that. Health status, no, you shouldn't really be keeping that.
Why would you give that information in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, health status would be I've got a temperature or I've got a cough. That's it. That's all it should be holding, if at all. And then it's also location data, that's the big no-no, and that's the thing that people have been railing against. The other area where they tripped up is that they've made this tracing app mandatory. If you don't have it, you could face up to 3 years in prison and a fine of about $55,000.
Sounds like a really good reason not to be living in the land of sand. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they've gone down that path and it's stung them. The way that the Australian government has done it, it is a semi-centralised system.
Yep.
So in most cases, a lot of the data is kept on the phone until the time when there's someone who's tested positive. They say, I've tested positive to COVID-19, and then it goes to the central database, which then sprays out to all those other people who may have been in contact with that person.
And once again, we point out this is to do with Qatar.
Yes.
It is nothing whatsoever to do with Australia.
That's right. This is, we're not...
Mind you, of course, stuff like this, I guess, does feed the conspiracy theorists.
It does, yes. But look, the COVID-19 app that we use in Australia it still gets my seal of approval.
Yep.
It's still getting a tick, and I think we can be looking forward to some more updates which will make it even more decentralised because... Look, the government's got a golden opportunity to get this right, and I think they're trying to do the right thing.
And I think when it comes to computer information, for once, the government does actually want to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, the record has been, how could I put it, somewhat tainted.
They just so desperately need a win. So,
they really do. Speaking of a win, how many people have had a win when playing solitaire? I see the Microsoft Solitaire collection is now 30 years old.
Yes.
So it first came out in 1990. It would have been with... probably what was the original Windows computer for many people.
It would have been the first Windows computer for a lot of people, and we're talking like the original Windows, like Windows 1.0 or Windows 3.0, Windows for Workgroups, and going way back that far.
Yep. Way back.
Fun fact, was Solitaire a game or was it a training tool?
Okay. I always believed, in my experience, that Solitaire was the computerised version of what we used to call Patience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So was it a tool or was it a game?
Yes.
Bearing in mind it was on the computer, I would suspect it probably originally started as a tool.
You're exactly right. The first Solitaire was first developed and put into production to actually get people comfortable with clicking, double-clicking and dragging and dropping.
So it was a training tool?
It was a training tool so people learned how to use the mouse. Think about it. Solitaire is one of the first games that you used only the mouse to play. And
yes, you're right. Yes. You're right. And you had to use the mouse because you couldn't do it with the keyboard.
Exactly.
You're right. Yeah.
So it was actually released to be a training tool so people got used to using a mouse. Because back in those days of Windows, before we had Windows, we had DOS, and it was all about typing in commands. We hardly ever used the mouse.
So then the mouse came along and all of a sudden it was a new thing to use and they thought, how are we going to train people to do it?
Yeah, and what's something everyone's familiar with? Playing Patience, or Solitaire as they call it in America.
Is that why it's called Solitaire? Because the British version was Patience and the Americans called it Solitaire. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's right. Played by one person. Solitary on their own.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
And that was the first time that we started to see the computer mouse come into great operation.
That's right.
Yep, which is a pity because if I recall, the computer mouse was originally developed by a fellow, what was his name, Douglas, was it Engelbart? Something like that, Engelbart. I think it was Engelbart. Engelbert was Humperdinck who sung songs, Engelbart. But it was way ahead of its time.
It was way ahead of its time.
In fact, I think he wasn't the one who took out the patent, if I remember. I know the patent was taken out in the early 1970s, but I don't think he was the one who took out the patent. And I guess it was the best part of 20 years before it was going to come into play in real terms, in a practical sense, on computers.
Yeah. It was actually...
Geez, you'd be spewing, wouldn't you? Talk about being ahead of your time. You think now that his heirs and successors would be worth $1 squillion. Somebody probably paid him $10 for it.
Well, yeah, it was probably, I think from memory, the mouse was originally made at the Palo Alto Research Centre, otherwise known as PARC. And this is back in the late 60s, early 70s. And it was a wooden box with with two wheels, one wheel on one axis, the other wheel on the other axis. and you had these little red buttons, and they were the mouse buttons, or it was actually one button.
Yep.
And it was the predecessor to virtual reality controls using gestural inputs. So,
going all that way back.
Yep. And now...
way ahead of its time. Nobody ever knew about it. Poor old Douglas Engelbart.
Yep.
He did a good job with that one, Doug.
Yeah, so back then we had a little wooden mouse on a desk, and just over the weekend we had touch screens in space as the Dragon capsule was launched on the Falcon Heavy 9 over the weekend.
You're talking about SpaceX.
SpaceX, I am, yes. So it's the first American-made, launched and crewed vehicle going to the International Space Station since the shuttle program was retired.
Amazing, isn't it?
And I don't know if anyone else watched the launch and all the comings and goings of it. I think I managed to force most of my family to watch it with me, and they were all pretty impressed with the size of the capsule. It was big, but the fact that there were no knobs and buttons and switches and things, it was touch screens.
Yeah, what happens if the touch screens go on the blink, though, Ben?
There was a lot.
Here we are out in space, and our touch screens are gone on the blink.
Yeah, well...
what are we going to do about that? Try rebooting now.
Yeah, and I'd say it'd reboot pretty quickly too. But apparently as they opened the International Space Station, once the capsule had docked, there was this waft of new car smell washing through the International Space Station.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, something about a new car smell, or in this case, new space capsule smell. He may be a bit of an unusual guy, Elon Musk, but there's no doubt he's definitely attuned to the future and what it holds.
Oh, he can build a few things, can't he?
He certainly can. Ben, as always, your time much appreciated. It's funny how time flies so rapidly. Don't forget, Ben's contact information can be found on his website, benaylett.com. That's 1 L, 2 T's and Aylett. And all the ways you can get in touch with Ben are there, benaylett.com. Meantime, my friend, thank you very much for that. And we'll have a conversation, I don't know, around about this time next week.
Catch you then.
Hello there, it's Simon Beaumont. It's Susie Quattrocchio's birthday tomorrow. It's a big birthday for her.